You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more.
Well, Power me, this is your boy Al Mega. Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders podcast. And today, we're bringing my boy here, man. There's a man that's been in the round of the business for a minute. He's definitely helped the Comic Crusaders several times, in the world of marketing. But now he is here to us as el presidente and publisher of Oni Press. And oh man, are they bringing back a legendary naughty brand? Are they going to be responsible for bringing back the code? Oh my God. Let's find out. Let's bring in my homie, the legendary, the one, the only, the myth himself, Hunter Gorinson. How you doing, homie?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you again, my friend.
Well, thank you for coming, brother, hanging out, and especially to talk about this horror goodness that my man, talk about, the name Hunter. He hunted down a legendary brand, and he whipped it right back into Oni. And again, with a new comic that's coming out, and you see that in the background, Epitaphs of the Abyss. We're going to learn all about this, though, and a whole lot more. Don't you worry. But before we're going to reel it back just a tad. Because, again, we haven't had Hunter here. For those that don't know, we got to get a little origin story. So, Hunter, just a bit about yourself, where you're originally from, and most importantly, what was your first love in all of fandom?
It actually ties right back to EC Comics, my friend. So I'm originally from the Washington, D.C. area. And sorry, I got two dogs fighting over here. Hey! That's how you go. It's a real comic book household. Just a terrier and a lab going at it. So I'm originally from the Washington, D.C. area, which back in the late 80s and early 90s was an extremely kind of comic book rich area. It seemed like you could go to a comic book store driving in any direction for 5 minutes. There was a comic book store. And so I grew up in a household where, I was a kid and I was getting exposed to stuff like Jim Lee's X-Men and Death of Superman and the rise of Image Comics. But I had a brother who was 10 years older than me who was really into Claremont X-Men and into what Vertigo was doing and Turtles and the cool stuff like that. And then I had a dad who was a little bit older, who was also grew up in the golden age of comics and knew about the Justice Society and EC comics and stuff like that. So I got a full comics education by the time I was about 7 or 8. And then I was standing in one of the great comic shops of my youth called the Barbarian Bookstore in Wheaton, Maryland, which is still there under new ownership these days, I believe. But it was one of those classic places that we really don't have anymore, with a few rare exceptions, where it was like pulp magazines stacked to the ceiling and thought that if someone lit a match in there, we were all going to die in a blazing inferno. You know what I mean? And while I was there, I remember my dad handing me like a reprint. Gemstone Comics was reprinting the original EC stuff back in the 90s, and handed me a copy of a Johnny Craig Vault of Horror comic and said, keep your X-Men, keep your Green Lantern, keep your Wildcats or whatever, but also read this. I took that comic home and it absolutely blew my mind that you could do things like that extreme and affecting with comics. And then it blew my mind even further when I realized that they were 40 or 50 years old at that time, because they still seemed so hardcore by the standards of even the 90s at that time. So from there, it's been an obsession with EC Comics. It's kind of percolated outward. And ever since that time too, I had a keen eye just to notice when you would see a new horror movie come out, or a cool band would have a poster and it would kind of look like the EC Comics trade dress, things like that. I noticed all of these weird ripples out from EC Comics, both in comics, but also in underground culture and pop culture and stuff I was into. So it's weird how things you love all seem to tether together. And EC for me was right at the nexus of all that stuff.
So as your papa handed you the reprints of these legendary books, did he even tell you what transpired in the history of EC and why we weren't getting those brand new at the time?
No, I kind of discovered all that as I got deeply into comics history. And I guess as a kid, I kind of knew the shape of what the comics code was. I knew that Stan Lee had kept it off of 2 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, etc. But there's lots of cool stuff like that that runs through EC, and it's why it's like one of the kind of like sacred repositories of comic book history. Is like, it doesn't go back to that. Like, Al, do you know who created the comic book, dude? Do you know where the comic book comes from as an art form?
It was overseas, no?
So the way that it started was a guy named MC Gaines, who was a door-to-door salesman in the 20s, thought if you took a newspaper section, like a cartoon section of a newspaper, and folded it over 4 times and made it a little book, that would be a good sales incentive for like housewives to get when they bought like a necktie from him at the doorstep. They'd say, buy the necktie, get the comic book for your kid. You know what I mean? And then he discovered the comic books were more popular than the stuff he was selling, and then thusly created the medium of comics. But MC Gaines was the founder of the father of William Gaines, and also the founder of EC Comics. So like,
William Gaines from there,
Yep. EC Comics is like hardwired into comics history, like every element of it. And there's like all sorts of fascinating like little asides like that.
You know what? I should remember that. Chris Buse covered that. Rest in peace, our big homie Chris Buse. Please check out his articles on the website, because let me tell you, he goes down the rabbit hole.
Nice.
Oh my God. And the stories, the gossip, the wachinche. Oh my God. What time did it be a comic book creator?
It's always been a tough industry, but it was a ruthless industry for, the first 50 years of its existence. So keenly aware that we do not exist in a vacuum, and that like we're standing in the shadow of like many, many things that led us to this point,
So as you mentioned, ruthless times when EC was out, and of course with the Code Authority and all, now, did you have to be ruthless to bring this baby back to Oni and bring her back to life, resuscitate her?
Yeah, so I mean, like, look, it's a lifelong dream to be able to do this, and there's kind of like it took years of my life to bring this to life. Wouldn't have been able to do it, obviously, without the 2 wonderful people, the daughter and grandson of William M. Gaines, who are our partners on this and have entrusted with us, Corey Mifsud and Kathy Mifsud, respectively, who kind of embraced my strong millennial energy for how we could do EC Comics in the year 2024, which has been incredibly exciting. Collaborating with them on this is true honor, like the honor of honors. And then our editor-in-chief at Oni, Sierra Han, has also just been having many, many, many sleepless nights bringing this together. She's responsible for that incredible slate of talent that you see for you at EPITAPHS from the Abyss #1, for sure.
So talk to me, man. How you said this is something you've always wanted. So even before you became the president, and publisher over Oni, and if so, like, how did you even know to start to get EC, back to life?
Yeah, so it's kind of a longer story, and I'll try and keep it short. But you and I first met when I was working at a company called Valiant, which I helped bring back in 2011 and 2012. I was the head of marketing.
Yeah, you did a hell of a job there too. So.
Thank you. And so after Valiant was acquired, I decided to leave the company, and cynically, I said to myself, I've always, comics is my great passion, dude. Like, it's the thing that even if I didn't want to care about it, I wouldn't be able to help it. Virtually all of my free time is spent going into stores and looking for back issues and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I just live and breathe this. So I'd always loved movies, like, obviously, and film and TV. I never had any aspirations to work in Hollywood, but after Valiant, I got approached by 2 wonderful guys, Sean Daniel and Jason Brown, who were producers. They'd been attached to a bunch of Valiant projects in development, which assigned to him. Sean's like a legendary Hollywood producer, did The Mummy, produced Animal House, produced Blues Brothers, produced Tombstone, Midnight Run, like a seminal figure.
Let me get a broom, my God.
Yeah. And so we started a company, and they said, hey, like, we need your knowledge. Like, comics are in vogue. Like, you have arcane knowledge about comics and weird sci-fi. Not like, for the first time in history, dude, like my deep knowledge of weirdo sci-fi books from like the 50s was in high demand. You know what I mean? And I said to myself,
Hunter was finally somebody understands me.
Yes. And then, so I said to myself, like, given the way that the comic book industry is going right now, and as it's getting like subsumed by broader entertainment, I can go work in Hollywood for a couple of years and figure out how this stuff works. You know what I mean? Or I'm just going to wind up working for a movie producer like in 4 years. You know what I mean? So we worked on some really cool. That company was called Hive Mind. We did the first season of The Witcher. We did the last 2 seasons of The Expanse. We did the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie with Guillermo del Toro. Bunch of cool stuff and a bunch of comic book based stuff that we got off the ground too. And one of those was a TV show based on the classic EC series, Weird Fantasy. And the way that happened is they said to me, "Hey, comic book guy, like you got, give us one. If you could do one thing, what would it be?" And I was like, Weird Fantasy, the EC science fiction stories that never got. There's Tales from the Crypt TV show, but we never did. And the sci-fi science fiction stuff's virtually untouched. So we spent 3 years working on that. There's an incredibly cool version of that show that will probably never get made, unfortunately. It's an entire story unto itself. Some very, 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 listen to me when I say some very, very, very prominent people worked on that, and incredibly talented people worked on that show. But through doing that and I lived inside of EC during that period, really got me thinking about how to modernize EC Comics for the modern day. And it really wasn't that heavy a lift, because all of the anxieties that EC Comics are about, the environment, war, social paranoia, go on down the list. 20 years ago, a lot of these things were considered pat or retro. Now we are experiencing them turned up to 13. You know what I mean? And it was like society had come full circle. And so when I came to Oni, we were also dealing with a similar circumstance, not 1,000 miles removed from the Comics Code Authority, which was at Oni, I'm the publisher of the most banned book in America. We publish a book called Genderqueer, which is at the center of every single library book banning controversy around the country. That's the next closest spiritual successor we have to what Gaines and the went through in the 50s. And it got me thinking a lot about EC Comics. And so this was on my checklist punch list of things I wanted to do from day one. And we pretty much started working, Sierra and I pretty much started working on it on day 2 of when I joined Oni.
Oh, crazy. Yo.
Yeah.
Hunter don't play around. Yo. See, that name is not just the name. Let me tell you. You sniffed that. We're going after this. All right. So that means we have titles like Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, Haunt of Fear, and more, right? But not this. You're bringing something brand spanking new after 70 years. I mean, brand new EC title and epitaphs from the. Let me bring this baby up too, man. Talk about this. How did you even convince them to do something brand spanking new?
Well, me and Sierra and Kathy and Corey from the Gaines family, we got to thinking. I mean, part of the pitch was originally look, there's 46 perfect issues of Tales from the Crypt. It would be a fool's errand to think that we could recapture that. And as a fan, a deep, deep, deep fan of this stuff myself, it makes my skeleton want to leave my body to think we would do Tales from the Crypt number. If this was another publisher, it wasn't Oni, they'd 100% be doing Tales from the Crypt #1.
Oh, absolutely.
It hurt my soul to be the, you go on Wikipedia and it's Tales from the Crypt, one of the most powerful horror series of all time. And then you get down to the 4th tab and it's 2024 reboot. I didn't want to do that for the legacy of Tales from the Crypt. But what I did think was that I did think a lot about there being potential. There's an alternate universe out there, Al, where and again, this goes back to the cascading legacy of comic book history, where the Comic Code Authority doesn't come into effect in 1955 and 1956. The predominant genres of comics, which was EC was the #1 publisher in comics. So far outselling Marvel, which timely at the time, far outselling DC, selling 10 million plus comics a year. The dominant, they invented the horror comic pretty much. So the dominant genres were published by EC. They were horror, science fiction, war, and then satire with Mad. Those were bigger than superheroes. So there's an alternate universe out there where the code never happens. horror and sci-fi and satire with Mad continue to be like the popular things. Because of that, Stan Lee never thinks like maybe it's time to dust off superheroes, or Julie Shorts never thinks like let's reboot the Flash. Now he's Barry Allen and not Jay Garrick. And there's like decades of, and EC continues to be the dominant force. And so we've looked at this as like, because EC was prematurely truncated. Imagine if like the Marvel universe ended in 1967 and you never got the Punisher and Ghost Rider and Elektra and the all new, all different X-Men. Like, what are those opportunities that we can do for the, instead of just lazily dusting off Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror and making them a pale Xerox of what they were before? How can we do new stuff that's clearly in the same lineage, but like isn't just trying to serve up nostalgia? Like, I personally believe that like the EC brand, like that EC logo that you can see, it's like a sigil. There's like power that's
absolutely.
That. You know what I mean? And I thought
on that fucking brand right there, baby.
So I thought that would be the thing that could resonate. It didn't have to just be Tales from the Crypt or whatever. I mean, we remains to be seen. The proof is in the pudding, but we just got our sales numbers on Epitaphs from the Abyss #1. They are, to put it bluntly, spectacular. Like the most successful launch that I've ever worked on. So, you know, we're off.
The book out is on July 24th.
Yeah.
Month. You go to your LCS. I mean, right now, the final order cut off for issue 1 pass. Maybe not go and beg your comic shop. Hopefully they ordered some extra copies, all right? Because this book is on. So let's talk about this cover. I mean, look at this. Definitely has the feel of old, and just looking at it, goddamn, the creepy factor is on 10 on this one.
Hell yeah, it is. And so we're not doing any second printings on these books. Like, I want people to go into comic book stores on July 24th to pick up these books. It's a good day for new releases too. That's the Wednesday right before San Diego. So Jason Aaron's new TMNT #1's dropping that day. Hickman and Assad Ribick's Avengers vs. Aliens from Marvel is dropping that day. So that's like, it's like the biggest day to be in a comic book store in probably like 5 years is July.
And this is the one they need to pick up out of both of those though, because this is the hot one. This is the one that returns the
70 years in the making. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Oh, I love this look of it. Look at that. Yeah. And look at that. Oh,
those are our new boys. Those are the new EC Comics horror hosts.
So, all right. So, what made y'all come up with new hosts as well?
Again, it's just to the same thing. It's like, if there was assuming that the horror hosts live in some kind of, like, they all exist in continuity together, we're creating new titles. Like, each of the books, not to get too nerdy about it, but like Tales from the Crypt belong to the Crypt Keeper. Vault of Horror belonged to the Vault Keeper. Haunt of Fear belonged to the Old Witch. So like, by that rationale, if we do Epitaphs from the Abyss, there should be a new host who that book belongs to. And this beautiful gentleman you see before you is the Gravedigger, designed by Dustin Weaver, who's an absolute genius, just absolutely annihilated these designs. But he lives essentially in an endless cemetery. And the Epitaphs from the Abyss, the titular Epitaphs from the Abyss that the book is about, that you read the stories from, are inspired by the different tombstones throughout the cemetery.
Oh, cool. But look at this guy. He does look creepy as hell. I mean, that's not unlike any show I've ever seen. He up to no good.
He's not screwing around.
Oh, man, look at that. Yeah, the design is insane, bro.
Vaguely inspired by the late Harry Dean Stanton, the actor.
Oh wow! Yeah.
I had this personal theory that like the original Crypt Keeper, the comics version, not the TV show version. If you take a look, there's a very famous silent movie called London After Midnight, starring Lon Chaney, and like visually seems like that was the inspiration. And then this gentleman is the Grim Inquisitor, who's kind of the Dwight Schrute of our bunch, thinks that he is the cat's pajamas, but secretly has to report up to the food chain, to the Supreme Inquisitor. We'll learn more about him, and hopefully he will be having his own title within the next year or two.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he definitely looked like somebody smacked him in the back of the head, and his eyes went two different directions. Poor guy.
Indeed, he's a little afflicted.
I don't want to mess with him though. He doesn't. Nah, bro.
Correct.
I've been watching too many movies lately, and a dude like this, you don't want to mess with.
And then
nor a lady like this. What the hell?
She's my favorite. This is the Tormentor. She's a real handful, Al. She's got a very nasty sense of humor, and she's also very fond of collecting implements with which to inflict pain. So as you can see, she has quite the collection going. We will see more of them as she begins to make her first appearance over the course of the next several months. But mostly all three of these characters appear on like the 1 in 100 variant cover for Abyss #1 for the first time. You really only get the Gravedigger in Abyss #1, but the plan is that we'll slowly introduce the various hosts over the course of the next year or so.
I'm digging it, man. Talk about having a utility belt to rival Batman. So,
Indeed.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Batman can ever prepare for her.
I agree, my friend. She does just got a little bit of a Batman villain vibe too. Wouldn't want to meet her in a dark alley.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Not even Batman wants to meet her in a dark alley. But here we go with the look, which I dig so effing much. You're bringing back that old school look, baby.
Yeah, so the font was like, again, I had kind of like several of these controversial theses, if you will, about like what made an EC comic an EC comic. Like we spent a lot of time talking about this and trying to figure it out. Sierra Han, our editor-in-chief, and then Matt Dreyer and Jung Lee, two other editors on the book, were also really a huge part of bringing this to life. But thesis was like all of the original EC artists had such varied styles. Like Al Williamson draws different than Graham Ingalls, draws different than Wally Wood, etc. We can never replicate their styles. It would be foolish to do so. You know what I'm saying? But there's a couple of visual signifiers about EC books that we could bring forward to like get that tonality, like harness that power. And one of them is the original EC Comics lettering style, which famously back in the day was done by a machine called a Leroy lettering machine. So they had a very distinct look on them.
Okay.
And it means that like you could visually identify like an EC comic. There's the trade dress, of course, like that bisected trade dress with the little spine down the side. And then this lettering style, you know when you're looking at an EC comic, or you know when you're looking at like an imitator, because it's not the same. You know what I mean? And so I always thought we have to do the lettering exactly the same, or as close as we can get, you know?
Love it. Yeah, see, folks, this is why you gotta get this book. This is a man that definitely understands what is popping again. And look at this. Look at the panel uses. Doesn't it take you back?
Yeah.
Definitely does take me back. You don't see uses like this much anymore at all.
And this is this artwork's by Phil Hester, industry legend, total honor.
Yeah, no wonder.
Everything from Green Arrow to most recently, like did Family Tree with Jeff Lemire, a book I love too. But did some beautiful work. This story's written by Stephanie Phillips. It is one of the most grimly nihilistic things I've probably ever worked on. One of the problems, not really a problem, but it's a quirk of like promoting these books, is like we can never show you the endings of the stories. So this is like 2 pages, but we can't show you what happens at the end or we'll spoil it. You know what I mean? But the ending of the story is like devastating. You're going to want to.
That's the moral, man. I read these horror comics, man. I used to go to Grand Book Center, Hunter, and we used to buy horror comics, a pack of 4 for $1, and they would have a mix of old school EC or Vault of Horror, other type shit from Marvel or DC, you know. So yeah, man. So I was always digging it, man, and that's why I love this style. When I saw that you guys were bringing this back, there's
like at least 2 in here where it's like you're gonna have to be like, I gotta take a minute and just process what this is about. You know what I mean? Which is kind of like what we're going for with these stories, is like we want to tell stories that like you will have to think about in the shower in like a week and be like, oh, they fucking did that in that story. You know what I mean?
That's gonna be like homie here, just walking with that serious tone. Like, what the hell did the sickos do?
Yep. Yeah, this art's by Jorge Fornes. who is like one of Tom King's most frequent collaborators, did Rorschach with him for DC Black Label, did Danger Street for the same, drew some Batman as well. Super fucking talented artist. So incredible to have him at Oni doing new EC stuff. He's also going to draw a story by Jason Aaron in issue 2, which is also really cool. This one's written by Jay Holtham, really great up-and-coming comics writer, very well established as a screenwriter, has done a lot of work wrote for Supergirl on the CW, also wrote for The Handmaid's Tale, and then did a couple books. He's writing He's writing that Night Thrasher miniseries right now for Marvel, and did some Krakoan Age X-Men stuff.
Excellent. Now you got him here doing this to scare the shit out of us. Wonderful.
Yeah, this is about an aspiring screenwriter who quickly gets his dreams dashed and decides to take out his revenge on his roommate. And that's
about knowing about yourself, I guess. So a screenwriter writing about a screenwriter, but hopefully it's not real life. He didn't know.
Right, what you know. You know what I'm saying?
But I dig it. Look at that, man. Oh yeah, there goes a dizziness spell. He's about to get crazy, folks. Holy shit, dig it. Then we got this. What's Cruel Universe?
So Cruel Universe is our second title. It's going to come out in the first week of August. Epitaphs from the Abyss is all horror, dark horror, like comeuppance with a twist. Cruel Universe is very much in the same lineage as the original EC books, weird science and weird fantasy, but it's science fiction. These are all, like, the great thing about EC stories is, like, they're all functionally horror stories. They're all, like, existentially terrifying. They just change the genre around. So, like, Epitaphs is pure horror. Cruel Universe is pure science fiction. But they all have the same, like, incredibly wrenching, dark point of view. Mixed with, like, it's kind of like the Tao or the balance of EC comics is, like, it's incredibly dark, perverse fucking things happen. But they're also hilarious on the other hand, and like balancing those two things. So there's a lot of that in Cruel Universe too.
Yeah, I gotta ask my shop to film me all of these, man. I want this. Look at this. Look at that.
And I mean, like, look, we are blessed on these books. So smart. Hold on one second. I'm gonna straighten these dummies out. I know we're live. I'm so sorry. Hey!
Look how beautiful this cover is. I mean, definitely it brings it back to OG.
I'm coming. I'm going to go outside.
Let's do it.
This is what happens. This is what happens when the delivery man brings the comics from the plant out.
They're just nuts. They smell the ink just like us. They get addicted. It's okay. It's a problem. We all need help.
So I was saying we're blessed with some phenomenal cover artists, like beyond phenomenal cover artists.
Who's this? I was about to say, this is like a Ross. It's so good.
This is Greg Smallwood, who won multiple Eisners last year, I believe, for his work on The Human Target at DC. Like just a absolute maniac. Like, look at this thing. The storytelling on this. It's like a story within itself. You know what I'm saying?
I want to know what the hell happened, especially with the side eye he getting from the head. What did he do?
And then there's a story in Cruel Universe 2 that tells the story of this cover. It's written by this fantastic writer named Ben H. Winters, who's a relative newcomer in comics, but is like a Edgar Award-winning novelist. Also is currently the showrunner of Tracker on CBS. It's drawn by an artist named Leo Max, who did this book called Rogues at DC with Josh Williamson that I absolutely loved. Like, that's pure EC stuff right there. That's what I'm excited for people to read.
And I just realized what's behind Homie. I'm like, huh? Ew, wait a minute.
Yep. So this is also for a story from Cruel Universe 2. This cover and the interior story upon that it ties into. What's up, Marewa? What's up, dude?
Look at that. It's Oni Press is unmatched. Looking forward to all of these titles. That's right, baby.
Yep. And then we have Jay Stevens, Jay's like a long-running cartoonist. He did a book for us called Dwellings last year. That was a big hit for us.
I spoke with Jay about that book.
Oh, you did? Great. So Jay's going to write a bunch of these stories, but he's also doing a set of variant covers where he just homages like every single EC Comics cover of all time, because obviously EC has like some of the most legendary covers ever made.
Man, you're gonna make us spend some money, baby. Oh my God, y'all murdering us. Look at this one right here, epitaphs.
Yeah, this is Tom Fowler. So like the mandate we have for covers is like the covers should tell a story in and of themselves, even if they don't. Most of them tie, like 95% of them tie into the stories that are interior, but like this is a fucked up cover, man. Like,
Yes, it is.
Tom sent this thing in and we were like, oh my God. And then he just turned in another one that people haven't seen yet that is also of a similar caliber.
You didn't need to code yourself on this one. Oni Press, right?
Exactly.
Yo, that shit is sick though. And this one also, yo, I mean, this one, and yo, that fucked me up. When I said, all right, I definitely want this on my collector. This makes even a great poster. This is creepy as fuck. And
so this is going to be
the 70s horror comics.
Yep, and this is going to be like the one. I'm happy to report this will be one giant side of our booth at San Diego. But this is BERMEJO, like, you know, talk about great cover artists in modern age, like BERMEJO from Batman, Damn, Joker, doing some of the best work of his career, in my opinion. And we're so happy to have him working on these books. An absolute genius.
Well, bro, oh man, so how excited are you guys for SDCC and being that this book would be out right before then to celebrate?
Yeah, I mean, I hope people like it. You know, I mean, we're doing some risky things. We're not just trying to like serve up pure nostalgia and just do what everyone expects. So like there's some swerves in epitaphs. It's not purely a recreation of Tales from the Crypt. You know what I'm saying? But I do think it exists pretty cleanly in the lineage of EC Comics and the spirit of what we're trying to do. So very excited for it to get into people's hands.
Yeah, man. And I just want to say I'm very excited to see there's, you know, a lot of great artists out there that do know how to draw feet.
Oh, hell yeah. Shots fired from Al.
That's what I want to say. And look at this. Oh man, I love this one. This is pretty cool too, man.
Yep. Based on a classic Jack Davis cover.
Yo, this is so great. You guys got me excited, man. I mean, it's nice to see that right here, folks. It's on sale July 24th, Oni Press. But listen, man, if you guys are going to be at SDCC, that's what this is about right now. Like, talk to us. Like, what's the booth number? What's going on? Any panels? Any special SDCC exclusives you could tell us about?
Trying to get me to rattle off the booth number. I don't know what the booth number is, but we will be at our usual Oni spot. I think the schedule just got. I think the map just got released yesterday, so you can go peek there. We have a lot of stuff. We're going to have an Oni Press panel for a lot of our upcoming books, including EC, but also a lot of our graphic novels, the Nacelverse lineup of books we're doing. That'll be on Thursday. Then we have an EC specific panel coming on Friday. I think I'm technically not supposed to talk about any of this stuff until they like release the panel schedule. But I'm okay to say like we're going to have a big EC Comics panel on Friday night. We're going to give away something very special for EC fans at that panel, which I'm very excited to reveal. And then I should also mention, too, it's the 20th anniversary of Scott Pilgrim this year. So the great Brian Lee O'Malley is going to be signing daily at San Diego. We have a bunch of new Scott Pilgrim stuff coming out, including this incredibly designed super deluxe box set. Which will debut first at San Diego. So we'll have those first at the show, get it signed by Brian, and then he's going to have a very large retrospective panel going over his entire career on Saturday as well.
He was very appreciative when I saw him in New York Comic Con last year. You know, everybody's talking about the show, and I saw Oni Press, you know, was doing some stuff upcoming for Scott Pilgrim at the time. So I'm asking him about the comic books. He goes, "Thank you. You're the only one that asked me about the books."
Yeah, he had a big animated series to promote at the time, my friend.
Absolutely. Yeah, but we got to sell the books too, man. We're talking Oscar program. Everything works together.
Absolutely.
I mean, come on, man. Learn, folks. The show is based on something. So that's why you're gonna find that. You go to Oni Press. You're gonna learn all about the show and read the real thing before you watch the TV show. You know what I mean? In my opinion. The only is where it's at. So outside of this, I mean, I know you got to show. I mean, any other hot titles that we need to be adding to our pull list for the summer?
I'd be remiss if I did not mention Akagon, Brutalizer of Gods by Murewa Ayudel and Dotun Akande. which is a super cool dark fantasy book set in in like very early in African civilization, kind of like in the same way that Jack Kirby kind of looked at Norse mythology and said like, yoinks, thank you. Doja and Marewa have similarly put a claim to Yoruba mythology from West Africa to do some really cool stuff. Like a lot of these concepts and characters and cosmology like haven't really been explored in Western science fiction or fantasy or comics before. So like, it's very much, if you have a Conan shaped hole in your heart, like this is Akagun is a great book, and it's absolutely beautiful.
He's a salesman. He knows what I like.
These guys, both of them are going to be working on Marewa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think both of you are going to be contributing to the new Storm series that's coming up later this summer at Marvel. So like, this is a good place to get some of the real stuff. And then, damn, dude, we got a lot of books coming up. We got a Cullen Bunn and Christopher Mitten, who are two of like longtime Oni creators, are doing a very cool kind of folk horror series called The Autumn Kingdom. It's going to start coming out in September. We're going to be talking more about that very, very soon. But we got, and then of course I should mention, coming out the week before EPITAPHS is one of our big licensed properties, which is Biker Mice from Mars.
Oh man, the Nassau, man. I spoke to Brian. Yeah, man. Nice. Exciting news, exciting times.
So those books have turned out like spectacularly, in my opinion. Melissa Flores is writing Biker Mice from Mars, done a fantastic job breathing new life into these characters. Great starting point, like if you're not familiar with them, from their 90s animated incarnation. And then art by Francis Portela, who I worked with many times all the way back to my time at Valiant.
But thanks for the plug out here. That's what we do here. We show love, and you got to come to the show too, so we could talk about all that stuff. I'm excited. I mean, all the Oni Press creators, come on down. Your comic crew got your back over here. Sell these books. Let people know the greatness of what Oni's doing, because I've seen y'all grow. So I'm digging all this new stuff. I mean, Hunter, when you coming on board, it's like you shaking things up and bringing some different and cool things, Yeah,
man, we're having fun. We're trying not to do like cookie cutter stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I think of comics as like, I think comics as a counterculture or subculture. You know what I mean? I do not want to make the kind of stuff that you can find on a streaming show or on broadcast TV, or like, that's not what I came to comics for originally. So like, we need some more of that. We need some more of that vim and vigor back in it. You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah, bro. Bring back that machismo. That's not what we mean, but you know what I mean. We got, bring that sazon. There we go. That sazon.
Yeah, we got something. I mean, we publish a lot of books at Oni, dude. You know what I mean? We publish 60, 70 books a year, so we got something for everyone.
You say that's a lot. You know what I mean? And it's so humble of you guys. So nice. Because again, I could get an easy week from Marvel, like almost 30 books.
That's true. Marvel and DC usually, I mean, for a time, Marvel and DC were publishing 60 or 70 books a month in and of itself.
Yeah, insane. But I rather collect from companies like yours. Easy peasy, collectible, good stuff, curated. You know what I mean? I'm putting out product that actually you care about. That's why I love this conversation. Your passion behind EC. I know now that this shit is gonna be like the most fire book to drop in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm super excited about it. Again, like, it's not going to be like a super it won't be like, not everything is going to be by the book. I think it's in the EC zone, but it's not like recreation. We'll do some, I'm very confident we're going to do some things that are going to piss people off, which I'm totally fine with. That's part of EC's mandate. And it's one of those things too, where like the first book is like the pilot episode. You know what I mean? Like, the show can change after the pilot. So like, we're getting into the zone, and I've seen what we're working on for the next year with EC. Like, I got some stories I love in the first issues, don't get me wrong, but I've also seen the stuff that we're working on for like the first year. I got a 3 to 5 year plan for the first part of quote unquote EC 2.0 or whatever we want to call it. Nice. So like, we got some bold stuff coming down, and there'll be some big left hooks in there that people do not see coming.
Oh, I can't wait. Now, if this could be anything else other than a comic book, would you like to bring it to a medium like TV, movie, cartoon?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the EC stuff's actually very well suited to TV. you know, like Tales from the Crypt, the TV series, like Legendary. They did some fantastic stuff with that. Like I said, I worked on an EC Comics related TV series for quite a bit. That being said, like, I'll be honest with you, I ultimately don't care that much. Like, I'm very happy to like make comics forever into the sunset. You know what I mean? We will do some stuff with. We will do some stuff under the EC banner over the course of the next year that like has never been done before. So like, there's never been an EC comic that was not an anthology. I can say no more than that. You know what I'm saying?
Read between the lines, folks. I'm gonna leave it as is. Yeah, you know, people will say be a good on this album. No, I'm not gonna poke. I respect my homie. He has said enough because he's gonna come back when it comes out. Then we're gonna talk.
You'll get a pretty big batch. You get the first inclination, the first taste of what the next things we're working on are at San Diego. And then probably by the fall, we'll reveal a little bit more too.
No, I'm excited. Listen, folks, Oni Press is bringing back EC Comics. If you're at San Diego, make sure to look up at the ceilings. They have a big sign that says Oni Press and points right down to where their booth is at. Make sure to skedaddle right over there really quickly, and scoop these books, get some signatures, say hello to everybody over there. Check out all the panels, all that stuff. Look them up, all right? If things are dropping, you better start making them plans because Oni's going to be a place to be. He already teased you. There's going to be something dope happening out of the panel, so don't fuck around. We warned you. We told you. Don't get mad afterwards. We told you here first, all right? So, Hunter, bro, thank you, bro, for what you're doing. Thank you for your hard work at Oni. And, you know, again, doing what you're doing here, you know, bringing back comics to us, you know, bringing back some fun, some horror, some scary shit, you know, working with amazing legends, bro. You yourself are a legend. Thank you for your time, bro. You rock, bro. And keep kicking ass at Oni, bro. I'm telling you, man, you're doing a wonderful job. You did well at the other spot, you know what I mean, which we won't mention again. But, you know, I see what you're doing here. And again, it's always nice to see people when I've started in the industry and seeing them grow as well. So
thanks, man. You're the best. Anytime. Thank you, man.
All right, folks, you know what it is, man. Check out OniPress.com. All right, this is stay up to date on anything. So OniPress.com. Stay up to date on everything Oni Press. You can follow my boy Hunter on X. That's right, on X at H Gorinson. All right, all the links are below. But most importantly, pick up the book. All right, it is dropping July 24th, 2024, baby, right before SDCC. If not, maybe you could pick up an exclusive SDCC. Hey, whatever. Get the book. Tell your LCS. Sign up right now. That's what you gotta do. I'm Al Mega. That's H Gorinson. Comic Crusaders, mi gente. Thank you for tuning in. Hasta la próxima. Wepa!
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit ComicCrusaders.com and our extended podcast family over at UndercoverCapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.